Hi, my name is Cleophidine A. Madelo, a second-year student from Section Bravo. For today's video, I'm going to discuss the Module 3, Lesson 2, which is the psychological theories of crime causation. The theories, aspects, knowledge, methods, and other behaviors can apply to study of crime because we can identify why does a person is involved in that crime or why does a person commit crime. We can also identify here if the person has a childhood deficiency or lacking. We can also identify the influences and the story behind that particular person. And why does the person have that violent behavior? Psychodynamic and psychosexual stages of a human development. When we say psychodynamic, it is collectively suggests that the individual's personality is a combination of his or her childhood experiences and unconsciousness, impulses, or desires. While when we say psychosexual, it is the involving of psychological aspects of the sexual impulse. Let's move to psychodynamic or psychoanalytic psychology, originated by Sigmund Freud, the founder of psychoanalysis in year 1856 to 1939. This theory holds that the human personality is controlled by unconscious mental process developed in early childhood. This theory also considers that the criminal offenders are frustrated and aggravated and are constantly drawn to the past events that happens in their early childhood because they may be experience the negligent, unhappy, miserable, lack of love, lack of nurture, and other experiences that makes their ego weak. And according to research, if a person has a weak ego, he or she is more likely to engage in committing crime. It also means that if a child experiences a bad events during his childhood stages, then he or she is more likely prone or more likely have a chance to commit crime in future. So, it has three major components, which is id, ego, and superego. The id dictates the needs and desires. It is the pleasure principle. It represents the unconscious biological drives for food, sex, and other necessities over the lifespan which concern with instant pleasure and gratification. Ego is the reality principle. It evaluates the position to extremes. Ego compensates for the demands of the id by guiding an individual's action or behavior to keep him or her within the boundaries of society. Superego is also known as morality principle. It counteracts the id by fostering feelings of morality. It is divided into two parts, which is conscience and ego ideal. It serves to pass judgment on the behavior and actions of individuals. However, this theory suggested that an individual committed a crime because he or she has an underdeveloped superego. For example, you found the phone inside your classroom. You take it and didn't tell anyone that you found it. So, your conscience, one of the part of the superego, which is the morality principle, is not working because it didn't intervene your id, which is the pleasure principle, and did not tell your ego, which is your morality principle, that the phone is not yours. So, a crime will happen if id, your pleasure principle, will overweight to your reality principle, which is the ego. Next topic is about psychosexual stages of human development. So, it is called psychosexual stages because each stage represents the fixation of libido on different areas of the body. The most basic human drive represents at birth is eros. When we say eros, it is an instinct to preserve and create life. So, we have five psychosexual stages of human development, namely oral stage, anal stage, phallic stage, latency stage, and genital stage. Oral stage is the first stage, which is from birth to 1 year. This stage of life are oral and mouth-oriented, such as sucking, beating, and breastfeeding. Freud said oral stimulation could lead to an oral fixation in later life. We see oral personalities all around us, such as smokers, nail biters, finger chewers, and thumb suckers. Oral personalities engage in such behaviors particularly when they are under stress. Anal stage from 1 to 3 years. The libido now becomes focused on the anus on its elimination of body waste. Phallic stage from 3rd to 5th year of life. So, in this, sensitivity is concentrated and the children will focus on the attention on their genitals. So the male children wants to possess his mother exclusively and get rid of his father to enable him to do so. Boy thinks that if his father find out all about this, his father would take away what he loves most. Electrocomplex means the girl has a desire for her father, but later on, she realizes that she don't have penis. That causes her to have a penis envy and wish to become a boy. Latency stage is from 6 years to puberty. So, this stage, no psychosexual development takes. It is because much of the child's energy is focusing or channeled to other development skills and knowledges. So, the last stage is genital stage, which means it begins from puberty. Sexual instinct is directed to heterosexual pleasure rather than self-pleasure like during phallic stage. This marks the beginning of the adult sexuality. This theory explains that the behavioral problems manifested by a certain individual can be traced back to his early stage of life. Like for example, if a person in the future will have a behavior of smoking, drinking, or drug abuse, then the infant in his first stage does not receive enough oral gratification. So next topic is about behavioral theory. This theory focuses on behavior modeling and social learning. It maintains that all human behavior, including violent behavior, is learned through interaction with the social environment. They believe that people are not born having a bad behavior, rather than people adopt or learn to think and act those violent ones because of their day-to-day experiences or day-to-day interaction to other people in social environment. So, behavior is learned when it is rewarded and extinguished by negative reactions or punishments. Study shows that family and friends are the main influences of having a bad behavior. And also, media has an impact to a person for having a violent behavior. And another example is that as a child, if you are having a violent father, you will adapt it, and when you grow up, you will also become a violent person. And I observed that the children is more likely easily to interact or to copy the behavior of the elders or the adults. Studies also found that people who live in violent communities learn to model the aggressive behaviors of their neighbors. Differential association reinforcement theory proponents are Ernest Burgess and Ronald L. Akers. It is a combination of social learning theory by Bandura and Sutherland's differential association theory. This theory explains that the criminal behavior is learned by the reinforcement we receive after committing a deviant behavior. The presence of criminal behavior depends on whether or not it is rewarded or punished, and the most meaningful rewards or punishment are those given by groups and are important individuals in life. For example, is peer groups, family, school, and etc. If the criminal behavior elicits more positive reinforcement or reward than punishment, then such behavior will persist. Otherwise, if the parent will continue to reward the negative behavior of his or her child, then the child will have an undesirable behavior which he or she will bring until he becomes adult. For example, is that if a child caught cheating but still receive a compliment and a reward for having a higher score, then the mindset of the child is that it is okay to cheat because he will get a a reward from it. It is okay to cheat, then the undesirable behavior he has will be continue until he become adult. Last topic is about maternal deprivation and attachment theory. The proponent of this is Edward John M. Bowlby. He expressed the notion that a child needs warmth and affection from his or her mother or a mother substitute. According to his research, that a child is fine provided that they have the comfort and security that they needed even though it did not provide the food. Bowlby emphasizes that the most important phenomenon to social development is the construction of emotional bond between the infant and the mother. Because when a child is separated by the mother, or he or she is rejected by her, then the anxious attachment results. When we say anxious attachment, it is an unhealthy style of attachment formed by children who have unhealthy relationship with his or her parents. Anxious attachments affects the capacity to be affectionate and to develop intimate relationship with others. Habitual criminal, it is claimed, typically have an ability to form bonds of affection. People who have developed anxious attachment may have a hard time in feeling secure in relationships. So, that's all for the lesson 2. Thank you and God bless.